Hey everyone, this is Amaya with Amazing Dolls. Welcome to my first ever YouTube tutorial. Thank you so much for following me on Instagram and encouraging me to start this channel. I decided to make the first video a complete kind of walkthrough of how I made my little space alien girl, who knows, I still haven't named yet, so maybe you can give me some ideas. I started off by filling in the holes on her legs and then using some epoxy sculpt to form her ears and then later her feet as well. I am working on a Laguna Blue model just because I really liked how kind of alien-esque her features were. Her face is kind of flat, her eyes are really round, so I thought it'd be a good place to start. Instead of doing shoes, I went ahead and decided to make it as if her feet themselves were high-heeled feet, kind of like they blend up into her legs. I used a rotary tool to sand down the epoxy sculpt. I wanted to really blend it in with her legs, and I did go back and use it to also really shape the feet. Just be careful when doing this at home. I probably should have been wearing some protective gloves at this time. I did at some point scratch my hand. Next time I use this tool, I will go in with protective gloves. Do as I say, not as I do. I really loved the way that the epoxy sculpt kind of molded to the plastic or adhered to it. It really did feel solid, like I wasn't worried that I was going to break it on accident or anything like that. I filed down the fins on the hands a little bit, not too much. I didn't want to get rid of them completely, but I just didn't want them to be as standout as they are. For the ears, I decided ultimately that I didn't like the way that the folds of the inside of the ears looked, so I went ahead and sanded those down as well. After that, I went ahead and buffed everything out so it would be nice and smooth. So this is actually my first time using an airbrush. I have always wanted to get one and I put it off for a long time, but I figured I would never really learn how to use one unless I made the splurge to buy one. So I picked up a semi-decent priced one from Amazon and decided to go ahead and try to make a pink gradient on her legs and her arms. I had a little bit of trouble building the color. I think it's because I'm still learning how to mix the paints in a way that doesn't clog up the airbrush, which is surprisingly hard. After that, I went in with periwinkle and kind of darkened up the feet and did some shading along her body to emphasize the kind of spaciness of it. I also did some splattery textures of the periwinkle and pink and a little bit of a darker blue to give it a constellation effect. I ended up sealing her body with watered down matte varnish, which looking back, I had used the airbrush to do it, but next time I will probably brush it on her body just because I did start to have some issues with it chipping fairly early on in areas that I didn't expect, particularly on the backs of her calves, more so than even on her joints. I went ahead and started airbrushing the face as well. I did just some pink blushing. And then I went in with some watercolored pencils to start sketching out the face and features. At first I used Liquitex matte medium mixed into an airbrush, thinned out with some distilled water to create a layer to begin drawing on. I'm trying to find a way to cut down my use of Mr. Super Clear just because not only is it very expensive, but it's very toxic, so I try not to use it too much. Even though I do have a respirator mask, it kind of makes me a little nervous to use it. So what I've kind of been doing is starting off with the matte medium, and then for the last couple of layers where I really need to build up the color, going in with Mr. Super Clear, and I find that that has been fairly effective, although I still need to practice more on making the lines as sharp when using the matte medium. Really, I wish there was an alternative to Mr. Super Clear that was safer and more affordable. That was basically as good as Mr. Super Clear, but you can't have everything. I really overdrew her eyes. I wanted them to be big and alien and bulbous. So I had a lot of fun with that, just kind of going a little nuts with the shape of the eyes and the colors. I really wanted her to look mystical. So after finishing up with the watercolor pencils, I went ahead and glossed her eyes, and then I glued on some eyelashes, a few pieces at a time. I normally don't put eyelashes on my Monster Highs, but I thought that her look was just magical enough that she could pull off those really long human eyelashes. For the hair, I went in, followed a tutorial from Mosekito. I really love the way that she makes her wigs and the way that she makes the yarn wefts, just because it really allows you to have all the control over the colors and the length and the shape. I really like that about it. So I followed a tutorial that she made to do space buns, because I figured if I was going to have a little space girl, she would have to have space buns. At some point it gets a little ridiculous here. You can see that I had to hold things in place with little rubber bands to try to keep it out of the way. It's always so much more complicated to do it than it is to watch someone else do it, I think. If you want to know more about how to do this kind of doll hair or how to make yarn wefts, I really recommend going and checking out Mosekito's channel. She really is the master of doll hair and doll wigs. And there she is. The polymer clay shooting star hairpiece was made by a very good friend of mine. I went ahead and sewed the dress by hand, and then I used fabric glue as well to make it out of some scrap material. I really had a lot of fun making this little girl, so I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, and if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos from me like this, let me know in the comments below, or subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great one.